Hey everyone, Ben Coomber Radio, episode number, I don't know, who knows, doesn't matter, who cares, numbers, I can't even count, what's the point, what is the point? The point is, we've got a good show lined up. I am joined here by a lady that I've known for quite a while. I've seen her at seminars, she's been involved in some teachings that I've done, she's generally a very awesome person, and I know that we've talked about this kind of mindset dynamic and what I'm trying to get people to do over time. And don't worry, we're not going to kind of like repeat the same stuff that we've been going, because I'm trying to evolve this journey for you. But what I've got today is I've got someone that has quite an interesting story. And I, for me, want to unpick the layers to show you where some of the directional steps you can now take for yourself in the future. So I know that there's a huge amount of you that have become more self-aware, have more now self-confidence, but there's blocking factors. But the good thing is you know what they are. But you're kind of sitting there thinking, well, actually, I'm not actually sure how to just jump over that wall. There's this wall in front of you and you're not quite sure where you're going with it, but you have actually identified it. And I think for me, that's a really good first step in this self-awareness aspect that we've talked a lot about. So today I'm going to share what I think is a great story. We're going to unravel it and we're going to try and share some experiences so you can start to move forward with some of the stuff that you're trying to achieve, both on a personal level, on a fitness level, on a career level, whatever it might be. So let's introduce my guest, Nicola Buckley. Hello.
Hi Ben, how are you?
I'm very well. Before we went on and recorded this show, we had the obligatory 5-minute dog owner chat where we showed each other our dogs and we got them to try and talk and stuff, this is the sad things that dog owners do.
We do, yeah. We also discussed your very nice pink t-shirt that you're wearing today and the fact that I have one that says epic across my chest, which I don't know what it says about me.
For anyone on video, we are quite colour coordinated. We're doing quite well between us.
There we go, epic. You see it, yeah. There we go.
So Nick, let's start at the top. I want to share the evolution of what I will call you today on this podcast. Tell me, who is Nick Buckley?
Nick Buckley is a woman on a mission. So I am 39. I've never felt happier, fitter and healthier. I've created the StongHer movement. StongHer is all about helping women know who they are and what they want. And we do that through working with them on their nutrition, on their training, and also what I call head and heart work, which is where the real work lies. How they feel about themselves and getting clear on what they want. Apart from that, I'm a proud daughter, I'm a proud auntie, I'm a mad dog owner, as we've already discovered. I'm a mum in waiting. I can't wait to be a mum, so that's a big part of why I've evolved my business the way that I am. And I'm a good Cornish girl. I was a crossfitter and weightlifter. I'm now more of a general doing what I want when I want. And I love travelling, I love food. And that's kind of who I am, yeah.
Nice. So that's kind of the here and the now. Let's talk about what got you in to where you are right now, which is quite key. So you were in, and I think this is a journey quite a few people have been on, and I think they're not quite as far down the kind of road as you are. But you were in a corporate career. You described that you had everything, but you kind of had nothing at the same time, and this is obviously a paradox that people in many walks of life have talked about in the past, is that money doesn't buy happiness. That you can have the job, you can have the car, the house, the whatever, but inside, if it's not right, it's not right. Talk me through what happened from the realization point in your corporate career to kind of maybe where you are now. We might break it down earlier in the process, but start me off on this journey of yours.
Right, so I had a 16-year corporate marketing career. So I was highly successful. I launched big products for telco companies, so things like iPads, iPhones, things like that. So I managed big virtual teams of 30 to 40 to 50 people, multi-million pound launches, a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. I built up to that career over the 16 years. I ended on a 6-figure plus salary. I was also married at the time. I married a guy that I met at university. I was a swimmer and a water polo player, and I met him through that. And it really got to the point, unfortunately, my marriage broke down. I changed a lot as I got more responsibility through my career. I just changed a lot, and how we changed didn't suit me anymore. We didn't change together, was the short version. I then spent 3 years trying to leave him, trying to be brave enough, but just not having enough certainty in me that I could look after myself, that I could have the life that I wanted, and just really not being brave enough. So when I came to leave him, that was a very big traumatic thing for me. And really then started to focus more on my career as kind of a way of plugging that gap in my life. Pushed harder and harder, got more senior roles. And really I just remember that after I moved into my own house after getting divorced. And I remember sitting here one weekend not long after I moved in and just thinking, why am I not feeling this? Why am I not happy with what I've got? Obviously, I've been through that with my relationship, and I kind of dealt with that later on. I hadn't dealt with it particularly well at that point. I had the convertible parked in the driveway. I had this beautiful house that I bought on my own. I had 3 or 4 foreign big holidays a year. I could go shopping. I was a lady that lunched. And I went and had 2 or 3 hour lunches and then shopping in the afternoon, out on Saturday night, doing what I want when I wanted. And it just didn't connect with me at all. I just felt like it was like I had everything, yet I really didn't connect with it. I didn't feel anything. And I think at that point, I already knew that I had a bigger purpose to play and a bigger role to play. And it was really then through kind of that realisation, and also just from how I felt about my body. I always felt like I had about a half a stone that I needed to lose, or a stone, depending on how much I'd been going out and partying at that point. And I just looked in the mirror and I didn't recognise myself. And I don't think at that point I'd ever really known myself. And externally to everyone looking on, I had this successful career, I had everything I could want, and yet I was still incredibly unhappy. And it was really through, I then had a kind of what I call a fuck it moment, and I just said, I cannot carry on this way. And my dad at the time was suffering quite severely with depression through pressures that he'd gone through at work, and the symptoms that he described about just waking up in the morning, not wanting to really do anything, just struggling with motivation, just feeling very down. My mum actually rang me one evening and said to me, your dad, guess how many words he said to me today? And I said, I don't know. He said, five words is what I've had from your dad today. We've been married for 26 years and I've had 5 words from him today. And it was that moment again that I had another fuck it moment where I realised everything that he described was how I was feeling. And I realised in that moment that I was in a pretty dark place and that I needed to do something about it. And it was really from there that I started to focus more on me. So first of all, I looked at how I was eating. I was a very traditional, I thought I was very healthy. I'd eat a lot of pasta, I'd eat a lot of what I considered at the time healthy food. And I just felt awful. I always felt tired whenever I woke up. I didn't ever really have any energy. I was constantly bloated and had headaches. And it was through starting kind of, I had a friend who's still a friend now, another fit pro, George Anson. I actually did one of his 2-week cleanses. And I woke up on like the 3rd or 4th day, I was having detox symptoms that were awful. I woke up on the 3rd or 4th day and I kind of saw the light and I realised, shit, how I felt most of my life isn't how I'm meant to feel with my food. So that kind of started the nutrition journey for me, if I like, obviously before I kind of worked with you and did more and more. From a training point of view, I started on my personal training journey. I felt I'd always loved fitness. My dad very much gave me that. I was then a swimmer and then became a happy jogger, but I hated it. And I wanted to find something that was for me. I wanted to find some way of giving back. So I started my personal training qualification. And it was through that I found CrossFit. I remember walking into a CrossFit Reading I remember walking into the box one summer, sunny day, 6 guys with their tops off doing insane stuff, 5 or 6 girls that were just lifting incredible stuff, and I was like, right, where do I sign up? I want to hang out with all those people, especially those guys in the corner, being a bit of a pervert. So that kind of led me into a completely different style of training. That led me into weightlifting. I then really focused on weightlifting, and I became a regional weightlifting masters champion. I'm generally quite light and quite old, so I do quite well in my weightlifting. So that led me down that journey, and also made me realise that you don't need to, as a woman, you don't need to spend hours and hours doing cardio in the gym. There's much simpler and much more effective and just much more fun ways of training. So that was like the second part of StongHer. And then really the third part was getting help with my head and heart. So I knew that I was desperately unhappy. I knew that I didn't want to be on my own. I knew that I wanted to be a mum. I knew all those things. I knew that I hadn't really dealt with the guilt and the frustration and the upset from my marriage. And it was really, I started working with Dax Moy on something called Mind Map. So Mind Map is kind of like the neuroscience behind transformation. So rather than just letting your feelings flow, it's like, okay, so why am I feeling like this right now? What can I actually do about it? So it answers a question that we all need to answer probably somewhere in our life. I know what I need to do to get the best job, to get the girl that I want, to be a mum, to get the body that I want. I know what I need to do, but I don't seem to be able to do it. Mm-hmm. So that was very much about me understanding truly and deeply who I was and what I wanted. So that kind of gave me the third part of StongHer. And really StongHer has now taken all 3 of those and mapped it into a program that I love because it's been my journey, and all the things I've struggled with that I've got better and better with in my life. That's just part of StongHer. So that's kind of how I got to where I am now. A 6-figure business that runs really well, we've helped over 200 women over the last year alone sort of just feel happier, healthier, and something that I'm massively proud of. So yeah.
Wow. So okay. So you kind of went.
I felt like I could talk a lot.
You went from beginning to end there. We've kind of got the cliff notes with it all. I'm intrigued. At what point or where were you when you actually quit your job and decided to move? Because I know a lot of people that have listened to my podcast, listened to my information, and actually, very similar to you, it spurred a career change. Like fitness, fitness wasn't my career at 18. Acting was my career at 18, and I decided through my own journey to jump ship and made those changes. Was there a particular point in time where you thought, I've got to leave this job? You handed your notice in, and then what did you then do? Talk me through that bit.
Yeah, so it's actually my 37th birthday. So I was working for a big telco at the time. I just remember sitting in meetings. I was head of commercial for a big telco company, and I just remember sitting in meetings. We just spent so much time talking about money that they were going to make anyway, no matter what I did, and it just seems completely irrelevant. I just remember another fuck it moment of sitting in these meetings, and I had a client who had really bad fibromyalgia. And I was kind of trying to work out ways that I could help her, with the things that I knew about, so reducing inflammation, moving, and just helping her with her head and heart. And I sat there thinking about that. I got asked a question, and I had no idea what I was asked. And I was just sitting in this meeting thinking, how much more would my life be? How much more of a legacy would I create? And how much more could I help more people if I was doing this all the time, rather than sat here talking about making money for people that are going to make that money anyway, no matter what I do, no matter how good I am. And I was very good at what I did, as I tried to be in everything that I do. And it just, at that moment, kind of clicked into place. And I thought, I'm 37. I've got some good financial support behind me. I'm nice and secure. My mum and dad, I talked to them the first time. They were horrified when I talked to them about it. They said, we thought you were the one that we didn't have to worry about, and now you want to go and do this. And it actually, over time, as we talked about it, they could see how unhappy I was. They could see I wasn't fulfilled. And they actually, the day that I went and handed my notice in on my 37th birthday, I rang my mum in the morning and said, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I'm brave enough. And my mum said, we're here for you. whatever happens. So go and do it, give it your best, and we're here for you anyway. And that kind of gave me not permission, but I suppose it gave me kind of the backing that I needed to say, go on, Nick, be brave and do this. But actually, even the story of handing in my notice was quite a Nick story to happen. I just always seem to have stories happen in my life. So the guy that I worked for at the time was 6'7", so I looked like a hobbit next to him. So we had a meeting booked for 9 a.m. in the morning. I thought, that's good. I can go in and I can get a bit of work done, and then we can get it done. So I'm not sat there thinking about it all day with this letter burning a hole in my pocket. So it came to 9 o'clock. He then got pulled into a meeting. He basically got his ass kicked all day, on and off, about some things that hadn't quite gone according to plan. So it got to, I think it was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Managed to get in the meeting room with him. He sat down, all 6'7", and kind of fell onto his desk, almost going, "Oh, Nick, give me some good news. I need some good news from you. You always give me good news." And I said, yeah, I'm not really going to help with that today. Took out the letter, pushed it across the table. And he just went, "Oh, shit, you are kidding me." I was like, no. I explained everything then. He knew that I'd been working, building my business as well as working. I explained everything to him. I told him what I really wanted to do and kind of what my purpose was. And at that point, he was so supportive. I actually ended up consulting for them for about 3 or 4 months, which again gave me financial freedom to kind of work on the business, which was amazing. So yeah, so to anyone that's kind of thinking about it, it's a couple of things really. It's kind of knowing that you've got backing and support. So I hadn't got a partner. I didn't have a partner back then. So it was my mum and dad kind of saying, "We're here for you." It was then just having a bit of a financial buffer. It's very hard to work on your dream project and your dream life and your dream business if you're constantly in financial threat. So that gave me another reason to say, right, it's time. And then I think for me, the fact I was on my 37th birthday, I do want a family. I was conscious I want my business up and running, so I've got the freedom to go and do that. So yeah, to anyone looking to do it, do think about those things, otherwise the dream can become a bit of a nightmare.
I think the lesson there for anyone really is that we've all got the harsh demands of life, in that we've all got to work, 9 to 5, whatever it might be, whether you work shifts or nights or wherever. We've all got to fit the gym in if we can. We've all got to do things, and the harsh reality is that there's always hard work before there's easier work. That's it.
Yeah.
Like when I went from obese to skinny, there was a lot of hard work. I didn't go out some nights. I went for a run. I didn't go for meals some places because I had to eat this and sort of try and stay on track, so to speak. So, and these are the parallels. That I don't like to pigeonhole any sort of, we'll call it life lesson. I don't want to say this is nutrition advice, fitness advice, business advice, personal development. The fact is, all of these lessons fit into one another. You want something, it takes extra work, it takes extra planning, potentially extra advice, potentially extra money. Like you went and saw a couple of people that could unlock some things for you, which was a really important step and process for you. And I think sometimes, and this is a problem that someone like me has actually helped create, in that there is so much information out there that I've empowered people with a lot of information. Like if you've listened to 190 or 200 episodes of this podcast, you know quite a lot of stuff. And that might actually hold you back from taking the next step, because you think, well, actually Ben's taught me, I should be able to do it. I know what to do, but it's not quite happening.
Yeah.
Now I know you've intimated this earlier on in this interview about this process of knowing how to change, but it not quite changing.
Yeah.
Talk me through a potential scenario or a dynamic, or how you package this to other people when they've got this block of, all right, and I suppose I'll use a simple example. I know I should eat this, but I can't eat this until I'm going and I'm eating this. Like
when it comes to it, we all know that, Mars bars or chicken and broccoli. don't we? We all know the best option, really, if we want to lose weight and we want to reach our health goals. So for me, what I spent the last 2 years kind of really looking at is the neuroscience behind transformation. That's part of what I work on with Dr. Moyle and the mind map stuff. So it's really about working out where you are within your brain. Can I get geeky for a minute?
You go for it.
I'll geek out for a minute. So a lot of the time when we've got very strong habits, there's a very deep neuroconnection. Something called Hebb's law, that means that our reaction and then the reaction afterwards is fired and wired together. And the more that you form that habit, the stronger it gets. The deeper that neuroconnection gets, the quicker the response. So, for example, I had a really bad habit when I was in corporate world. If I had a bad day, I would easily, without even thinking about it, literally, I would stop at the garage on the way home. I would arm myself up with a bottle of red wine and probably some sugary snacks, and I'd be home and eating it before I even realised. That's because that was a habit that I formed, and I trained myself into giving myself moral license, saying it's okay, I've had a bad day, I've earned it. So that neural connection got faster and it got deeper. So it's almost, we spend a lot of time in our subconscious mind because our brain can't cope with everything and make a decision based on everything that we see. So if that habit is there, it's going to be a habit that takes some time to break down. So there's 3 steps to changing those habits. So the first one is, was an acronym, which is AIR. So the first one is awareness, to know that you're actually doing it. So to know when you've got that situation where there's a trigger and the reaction that doesn't serve you. So for me, bad day, drive home, bottle of wine at the garage, I say I'll just have a glass and then it's a bottle later. That could happen 4 nights a week for me when I was in corporate world and there's a big launch going on. So that's awareness. That's the first kind of step towards breaking that habit. The second one then is intention. So intention is all about, once you've got the awareness, what's the intention behind changing that habit and creating it and making it something that serves you more. So the intention is that you want to lose weight and you want to get to a body that you feel proud of and confident about again. So you can be in family pictures, so you can go on holiday, wear your bikini, wear your swim shorts, and you can go out on dates and feel fucking good rather than a little bit ashamed. Intention is, I want all those feelings, and that's going to help you do the third part, which is then setting in place a new habit, which is all sets and reps. So the R is reps. How do you take a new habit? You form a new neural connection. So I've had a bad day, I'll come home and I'll take my dog for a walk. Would be a better habit, and then it's just repeating it and repeating it. So there's a lot of the neuroscience behind transformation. To me, is fascinating because it takes some of my more woo-woo stuff and then the more geeky and logical side of me and kind of maps it all in together. And I truly believe that a lot of people are just kind of automatically letting their habits just run with them. The same with their stories. I have ladies in the gym that come into the gym. I can't do a press up. I did a video about it today. I can't do a press up. It's like, but you're actually in the middle of doing a press up. Whatever way you're doing it, whether that's on the wall if you're just starting out, whether that's a full press up, whether that's something that we found is the right variation for you. And the stories that we tell ourselves are so fucking strong that we're arguing with reality, which is kind of crazy. So I can't do press ups. It's like, well, you're actually in the middle of doing them. Your story is so strong that you're actually arguing with your reality. Mm-hmm. And that's another big part of it as well. Being able to look at those stories that are just running and playing, that lead you into habits and behaviours that just don't serve you, that aren't going to help you get where you want to be. And then the other, if I can get really, really geeky for a moment, there's something else that I just wanted to just share with you guys as well that's been really, really powerful for my clients that I work with and myself. And that we cover in detail any of the events that I now run. And that's something called the triune brain theory. So we've obviously got our brain and everything flows from there, and how we live, so whatever we think, whatever we feel leads to our actions that then lead to our reality, and then that all goes back around. So it's really important to just understand this triune brain theory because it's definitely helped me change my life. So we've got 3 parts to our brain. So there's the animal part of the brain, which is the prehistoric part of the brain, which is from when we were kind of just starting to stand up and we started to live together and become human, if you like. That part of the brain is only focused on keeping us safe. So it means that part of the brain is where we go into fret and fear, and when we worry, when we're anxious, there's something that's triggered that part of the brain, that very prehistoric part of the brain, to say something here isn't safe. The brain likes prediction and response. The brain likes patterns. So if we suddenly throw in something that's completely different, if we're doing something that's brand new or challenges us, we'll go into fret and fear. And that means that we can't access the other two parts of the brains that I'll go into at the moment. But that part of the brain needs to be reassured. We need to get back to safety in some way, which is different for everyone. Certain recipes of making us feel safe and safe havening, if we like, that's different for everyone. So that's the first part of the brain. And I was from the women that I've spoken to and the clients that I've worked with, I would suggest that most of us spend a lot of time in that part of our brain. If you just think about people saying that they're stressed or that they're anxious or they're worried, how many conversations do we have like that? How often do we feel like that day to day? Mm-hmm. The next part of the brain is then the mammalian part of the brain. So that's when we started to become more social. That's when we started to live together. And the mammalian part of the brain is all about social connection. So that's about feeding that need for being close to people and having close relationships. And that goes back to when we started living together. If we were in groups and we were living together in caves, that would mean that we were more likely to survive. So again, it's a very primal survival mechanism. It's really interesting actually as well, working with women, that part of the brain is actually physically bigger in women. And if you just think about the number of conversations women have about, she said, I think she thinks this of me, what will they think of me, around judgment and fear of what other people are going to say about them, that goes back to that mammalian part of the brain and having the need for connection. So that will mean that we worry about what people are going to think about us. It'll stop us doing the things we want because I will be judged, people won't want to know me anymore, my partner won't want that connection with me anymore. So that again is a very important part of the brain to understand. So if you manage to get out that the animal part of the brain into the mammalian part of the brain, well done, you're getting there. But the part of the brain that we'd want you to live in, which is where I try and coach my clients to live in, is when, you have the days where everything's just in flow. When you just feel good and you feel like you're Superman or Superwoman, you feel like you fucking do anything in the world. That's when you're actually in the human part of your brain, which is kind of like the forefront of your head here. So just kind of like with your forehead. And that is where you then start to vision, where you start to dream, where you start to want to learn and develop and grow. And that's self-actualization. But you don't manage to live in that part of the brain unless you satisfy those other two parts first, the very primal parts. So it's almost like that part of the brain is cancelled out if you're back in animal part of the brain, where you're looking at one of 5 things: fight, flight, fuck or freeze. Or if you're in the social connection part of the brain and you're looking for, actually, I'm scared of people judging me, what will they think of me? So really a lot of the work that I do is helping women kind of safe haven so that they're getting out of threat and fear so they can actually get into that human part of the brain. Also getting clarity on, actually, does it matter what people think of me? And giving them freedom from other people judging them. Because if they have certainty within themselves, that becomes less and less important. So that to me is the biggest takeaway from today. If anyone can take anything away, it's just think about where you're living and what part of your brain you're living in at the moment, and how you can safe haven through those first 2 parts and get consistency and prediction and response to then live in the part of the brain that actually gives you self-actualization, the human part of the brain, because that's when everything flies.
So there's probably a lot of people that don't actually feel that they can reach that place because it's been so few occasions when they felt like they're in that flow state.
Yeah,
and everything is going right. So when people talk about mindset, mental change, a better brain state, people think it's woo and can't classify it, can't see it, even though you outline the steps, because they've never really experienced the place that you're trying to get them to visualize where they could and should be at.
Yeah, absolutely. If you think about the number of people that suffer from stress, suffer from anxiety, suffer from depression, just suffer from just giving into stories that aren't true and just live a life that they're not happy with. How many people are just unhappy with their body, with their career, with their relationships? I would say a lot of those people would spend 90% of their time just living in the animal part of their brain, in threat and fear. So they can't get clarity to make decisions. They can't get the confidence in themselves to move forward because they're just stuck. A lot of the women I work with come to me and say, I'm lost, I don't know who I am, I feel stuck, I feel helpless, I don't know where to start. All that is signs of being in the animal part of your brain. So really to kind of start to move away from that, the first thing you can do is just stop. I think there's so much we always want to do more, we always want to add more. We have this pressure that actually doing more and just working harder and harder. I mean, I've done it. I still do it sometimes now. My parents gave me a real hard work ethic, but really just to stop and take stock of where you are and start to just let yourself be a little bit, just listening to how you feel, just really start to identify with what isn't where you want it to be in your life. And I think people are scared to stop, especially women I work with. Their wives, their mothers, they have careers or businesses. For them to stop sounds ludicrous, but a lot of the work that I do on the retreats, for example, we take them out of where they are. We take them away from those pressures and responsibilities and say, look, we're going to look at you for a weekend. We're going to treat you really bloody well. We're going to get you some great food. We're going to have some giggles, and we're going to also just focus on you. And that in itself is hugely empowering. So I would encourage anyone to kind of start with that process of just, rather than add more, do more, just stop and look at where you are. Look at your life and look at it in the round. How do you feel about different parts of your life? What's your heart saying to you? What's your head saying to you?
And hopefully then take away, because the scenario that you are outlining, which I've mentioned a lot, because it's more, I would say it's more typical in females than it is in males, because males have a bit more of a fuck it attitude, whatever. Like, you've got to convince me to help you, rather than most females will be like, oh, I'll help you. Yeah, and then they'll take that stress on, and to take that stress away is difficult. So if Jane always goes on a Wednesday to do X to help X, it'll be very hard for her to break away from that on a selfish level, because she's almost indebted and she's already committed to that, and emotionally she doesn't want to let other people down, because then she'll feel guilt and shame. So how do you package that to people? Because I think this is a good takeaway from today's show, in that a lot of people should be taking away stuff from their lifestyle. So how are you getting people to package that actually it's okay to focus on you, and it is okay to let people down? It might momentarily be a bit painful for them, but things will move on. Yeah.
So the way that whenever I meet or I have a breakthrough session with anyone that might want to work with me, we talk about where they are in their life now, and we talk about how much they have in their life already. And it's really through the process, like even the first step, it's an hour call just focused on them, an hour meeting. Even that first step, it's getting them to change their view of being selfish. Selfish is seen as a really negative thing. And I think there can be the selfish, which is I'll be so selfish, I don't care about anyone else. But actually, at some point, giving so much to everyone else, as a mum, as a partner, as someone with a career or a business, you keep giving, there's not going to be anything left of you. Everyone is getting this lesser version of you, because you cannot see that actually spending a bit of time on yourself is going to give that better version back to everyone. So how would it be to be a mum who has more energy for her kids that she adores? How would it be to be the leader of a growing business that has more clarity and more drive, because they've fallen back in love with it rather than resenting it because they're always tired? How would it be to be a partner that has a better connection and actually wants to go out and have a dinner out and date night, and actually wants to then have sex with their partner? How would it be to be all of those things, and getting them to understand that spending a little bit of time themselves just means that all those people, the ripple effect out into all those people that are in their life is just going to be hugely different. But above all, they're going to just feel, they're going to know more of who they are and what they want. And on the point of saying no, there's a lady that I really, really like called Brené Brown, and she's a shame researcher.
Yeah, big fan of hers.
You heard of her? Yeah, she's fantastic. She's a natural storyteller as well. I just love her stuff. She's very easy to listen to, so I'd suggest anyone to have Power of Vulnerability. Definitely is one of my favourite things that I've ever read. She just talks about having a few moments of feeling awkward versus the whole time you're doing something for someone else, resenting it. So how is it in that moment to say no and actually no, say it in a way, I'd love to do it, but no, I can't at the moment, rather than you say yes, you've committed yourself to another thing that you don't really have time for, to people please or to feel that you're enough. And actually the whole way through it, you just resent it. So she gives an example of, she was asked to make brownies for her daughter's school fair, party or whatever. She didn't have time. She turns up at the party. She ends up talking to the teacher, and she just naturally went into, how were the brownies? She hadn't made any. She didn't have any there. And then she just pointed at someone else is saying, oh, they've gone down really well. She ends up lying to her daughter's teacher because she didn't want to say no. So she said yes. She's ended up lying. And the way she tells the story is just hilarious. So I think that moment of feeling slightly awkward versus that whole resentment of having to do the thing, I haven't got time, so you're going to turn up late, you're not going to give it your all. It just makes sense to me, absolutely. And I try and coach my clients through that. And also, them adding more isn't going to solve the problems that they have or the struggles. It's going to be the opposite. And at what point how much do we feel like we need to do more to justify who we are in society? And there's a big thing around, just work harder, do more, pull all-nighters, building your business, all that. We all have to work hard at some point. We've already said that. But at some point you kind of have to go, I can't do this. I need to stop and slow down and look at what I'm doing.
Love it. Have you watched Brené Brown's interview with Chris Jarvis on the Chris Jarvis show?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Chase Jarvis show, sorry.
Yeah. No, I love a TED Talk.
Yeah, Chase Jarvis has a good online show, and she does a really good interview on there. It's about an hour and a half long. It's really good. But mate, I can't agree with you even more. I just think, there's so much that we look for and do externally and don't do enough internally for ourselves, both in the goals that we're trying to achieve and what we do in day-to-day life, that it's just causing, and we'll describe it as pain. It's causing a lot of pain and discomfort for a lot of people. And the harsh reality of it is, and I can imagine you've coached a huge amount of people through this, it's your fault. It's the person's fault for saying yes. And I know that's almost a cultural thing, like we've been brought up to be nice and friendly and that kind of stuff. But the reality is, we put ourselves in that situation so we don't want to be angry at ourselves, because that's not the way to deal with it. But we have to accept that there is actually quite a simple process to change. Yeah,
and I think the first step of that is just accepting responsibility for where you are in your life now. And I've done it. I've done it again recently, for kind of accepting responsibility for, I want to change certain things in my life and my business, and I've accepted responsibility now. When I left my marriage, I accepted responsibility eventually for that through a long process. When my first business failed, I was ultimately the one that didn't make it work, and it's fucking hard. But I think if you can change your perception of failing and actually say, is it a failure, or is it something I've just learnt massively from? And that I know that I wouldn't do it that way, that I know that I'd need a bit more help, or that I know that I'd need to approach it in a completely different way. And then it doesn't become a failure as such. It's just, well, I've just massively learned from that. So I don't see that as a failure anymore. But I would say to anyone, and I don't mean this in a way that's pointing at anyone, but just the first step has got to be, take fucking responsibility for where you are in your life. And if you don't like something, look at where you want to get to, and then just take the first step. It's all about a first step. You don't need to know the entire path. Just think about that fucking first step and be brave enough. Ask for help if you need it. Find a coach, or find someone who's already done what you want to do. Ask for support. Get in a position where you've got that freedom to kind of make it happen, and just take the first step.
Boom.
Yeah.
I like it. Nick, that is us for today. Thank you very much for coming on the show. I think it's been very insightful. I think you've given a great account of where you've been and where you've got to, but you've given some real tangibles for people, and more than anything, this show is to make people think. It's as simple as that. Like, if there's one or two nuggets, great, but it's about going through a process with us talking and having these, self-realizations to say, right, that's me. I can share, and this is why I think looking at other people's, we'll call it inspirational stories, is a good thing, but then relating it back to you, because you can see that other people do it. That's why I love reading autobiographies, because wherever I'm moving in my life, I want to hear that other people have done it. Even if I believe it, I want to keep reaffirming the process that I'm trying to go through myself with the success of other people. But that doesn't mean their goals turn into my goals and vice versa. It just means I draw on their energy and their strength and their past mistakes and learnings.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, why would you go out and make all those mistakes that they've made and do it on your own if you can actually just borrow from their 10,000 hours? It takes apparently 10,000 hours to become an expert in something. Why would you not just find someone that's already done it? And I think the other thing is, when it comes to it, there's nothing in the world that hasn't been done before by someone else. So really, what are we scared of doing? It's kind of like, if you try and you give your all to something, you learn from it. That's a fucking success in my mind.
It is.
So,
right,
yeah.
Nick, let me point people in your direction that want to come and find you. Where are you on social, websites, that kind of stuff? Where can people come to find more about you?
Yeah, so on Facebook, Nicola Buckley, and also Nicola Buckley, StongHer, Health and Confidence Coaching. It's quite a busy page, got a lot going on there. I've also just set up a new Facebook group, a free Facebook group specifically for women. That's called the StongHer Sisterhood. So that's going to be growing and a big focus of mine over the next few months. I'm really excited about that. And then my website, what I do now, which is www.strongherformula.com.
Strongherformula.com. And just so people don't get any of it wrong, on Facebook, spell your name for them, just so they can get that bang on. Yeah.
Nicola, Nicola, and then Buckley, Buckley.
Awesome. Are you on Instagram and Twitter as well?
I am on Instagram as StongHer Formula.
Okay. And what about Snapchat? I've just got into Snapchat. What about you?
I can't. That's about enough at the moment. Oh, yeah. Snapchat just blows my mind. Are you on it?
I am. My team.
Do you know what it's doing?
I do now. My team have been going on at me for ages, and I'm like, I don't know. And now I've started using it. I'm like, this is quite cool. I see what's going down. Yeah.
Maybe I'll have a bit of a look at it then, and I can just link into you, and then it just be me. So.
Right. Look, thank you everyone for tuning in. Sorry, Nick, on Twitter, you are StongHer Formula on Twitter.
No, Instagram, StongHer Formula, and then on Twitter, Nicola Buckley _PT.
Nicola Buckley _PT. The reason why I ask is a lot of people tend to feedback on the show via Twitter, so that's why I ask about Twitter. Yeah. So look,
we'll send it all over to make sure we've got it exactly right, and we'll pop it in the notes. So,
brilliant. Right, if you've been listening to the show, I hope you've enjoyed it. Please engage with us. If you see it on Facebook, if you see it on Twitter, look, say something. Say what you like, say what you learned, maybe say what you didn't like, ask Nick a question. We put ourselves out here to help you, so, give us some feedback, engage with us. If you enjoyed the show, do us the massive honour of sharing it on Facebook, maybe tagging in a friend that enjoyed it. Please don't let this information just be for you. Share it for other people. That's how we help more and more people change their lives. It's as simple as that. We're here to change lives. If you've enjoyed Nicola's work, go and check her out, the StongHer Formula. If you missed any of the tags and stuff, rewind back. We've just talked about Snapchat. If you want to follow me on Snapchat, I am Ben Coomber on Snapchat. Get involved. I'm documenting what I eat, how I train, how I move, weird shit I do with the dog. No, I wouldn't say weird shit. That's the wrong...
I don't do weird shit with my dog, Ben, just to be clear.
I'll rephrase that. Funny things I do with my dog, like get her to wrestle socks and stuff. Anyway, If you want to come and learn off me, I am currently starting a UK tour at the end of July. If you put Ben Coomber into Eventbrite or send me a message on Facebook anywhere, I am coming to 14 different locations around the UK to teach my latest seminar, which is what is it? I've forgotten what it is. Oh, how to build a diet and be awesome. I'm basically gonna put all my.
Being there somewhere.
It will. It will. It's how to eat and do everything and recover and perform in a tight 3-hour seminar. I talk quick so I can get a lot done. So come and find that if you want it. Nick, thanks again for being on the show.
Thanks, Ben.
And
Great
for all you listening, I will see you either on Monday or Thursday, whenever this goes out. Probably Monday, but either way, be awesome. Hey everyone, Ben Coomber Radio, episode number 198. Now, if you're watching this on video, either on Facebook or YouTube, you'll see I'm wearing the England Rose. What an